guys, welcome back to another video. As the title and thumbnail say, I did get a pretty rare fish today, a fish that I didn't even know was a thing up until just about a week or so ago. Somebody actually brought in 6 or 7 of them into the store, and none of us knew what they were. It took us a little while to figure out exactly what kind of fish they were, and I ended up getting one because I thought it would be a pretty good fit for one of my tanks. And that tank is this one right here, the 46-gallon bow front tank. Everybody in here is doing well. There actually is 2 new fish in here, not new fish to me, but new to this tank, and that is the panda barb and the lelupe cichlid back there. Not something that would typically go in a tank like this, but they came out of the hexagon tank that I'm about to do some rearranging to. So this is a tank that I knew they would work in, just not something that they would typically go with, just because it's more South American themed than anything. But everybody else is doing great. The blue cars are looking good. The red spot gold severums looking great as well. And as I'd mentioned, I wasn't really planning on adding anything new into this tank up until I saw these fish, and I thought one would be a good fit in here. So this is the fish. Now he's pretty freaked out by the light, but I'm going to give you guys a much better look at him once I get him actually into the tank. But this is actually something called a strawberry leporinus, or a spotted leporinus. It goes by a couple different common names. And honestly, at first, when I first saw him, I thought it was some kind of a barb when it was sitting in the tank. But if I really sat there and looked at it and noticed one key thing, that would have given it away as far as what type of fish it was. Now, not the name maybe, but at least the family that it was in, and that is the headstander family, because it is a type of leporinus. And after noticing them in the tank, I noticed that they had a kind of a downward tilt to them, which is a kind of like a key indicator that it was a headstander, which is the family that leporinus are in. So pretty cool looking little fish. Now the cool thing about them is they only get to be about half the size of the common banded leporinus, the one that everybody knows. So that's really, really good. That means that he'll be able to stay in this tank long term, and I won't end up having to move him out of here. So I'm going to go and just set him on in there, and we're going to let him acclimate for about 20 minutes or so. But a pretty darn cool looking little fish. Definitely looks a lot different as far as the markings and the color from the banded leporinus, but the body shape and the mouth and the eyes and all that looks pretty darn similar. And I actually do have a banded leporinus, which most of you guys do know. There he is right there, and right now he's at about 6.5 inches, which is about max size for the strawberry leporinus. But this guy, while he may be at a mature size, definitely not full grown, as he can easily double that size. So yeah, this guy should be a pretty good addition to the tank. Should kind of blend in with everybody else. I don't see why anybody would pick on him, being that the panda barb actually looks pretty similar to him, and he's actually done really darn well in here. I've had him in here for about a week and a half now. Same thing with the lelupe. They've done well. Nobody's picked on them. They haven't messed with anybody. So I think this fish right here is going to be a cool new addition to the tank. Right now he's only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so. So he definitely can get quite a bit bigger, but nowhere near as big as, like I said, the banded leporinus. Now I want to show you guys the guppy / inler tank. You can see that I took out all of the rocks and the driftwood and everything that was in here, because I was starting to notice that all of this jungle valve was really starting to grow in here and really starting to take off, and I wanted to kind of free it up in hopes that it would do exactly what it has done. It still hasn't really filled in on this side yet, but it will in probably the next 2 weeks. This is how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be just this right here, and just kind of fill in the whole entire tank, because I mean, guppies are an out and about type fish anyways. They don't need a whole lot of structure, and I thought it would look pretty cool if I could actually give it time and room to fill in like this. And so far it has. Like I said, there's still kind of a gap over here, but it started out just back there in the back, and I was starting to notice that a few plants were growing behind the rocks and coming around this corner over here. So I thought maybe, just maybe, it could end up doing this if I took everything out, and that's exactly what has happened. And the cool thing about this stuff is if I pick up that plant right there and keep picking it up, I'll eventually have this plant over here. So that's kind of how this stuff grows. It grows all connected in a chain. My oh my, it has been a minute since I've shown you guys Chungus the flower horn. Been doing great. I actually did add a 9-watt UV sterilizer to his tank back there, because his tank kind of had a hazy look to it, and no matter what I did, added carbon, water changes, nothing would seem to clear it up, no kind of clarifier would. So I just went ahead and spent the money, got a UV sterilizer, and now its water is crystal clear. It kind of has that hazy film still on the surface, but if I just adjusted that a half an inch, there'd be enough water flow to where that wouldn't be up there. But yeah, he's doing great. Tank's looking good now, and he's as aggressive as always. Over here in the 20-gallon long planted tank, everybody's doing good. All the plants are doing great as well. There's our group of pea puffers ready to be fed. It's time that I actually do feed them. Went and grabbed a cube of bloodworms right here. And I mainly feed these guys bloodworms for the most part. But every once in a while, I will throw a couple snails in here, and it is quite the scene to watch them pig out on some snails. But man, do they love these dang bloodworms. So do the cardinal tetras too. And I just saw the yo-yo loach come out. He'll be coming out here in a second. There he is back there. And it really amazes me how many bloodworms that these small little bitty tiny fish can actually eat. The pea puffers and the cardinal tetras, honestly. Because I mean, these fish are not even half an inch and just stuff themselves with bloodworms. It really just amazes me how they're able to eat so many of them. And all that right there looks like a lot, but it's really not at all, because I also have to make sure that some get to the bottom for that guy right there, the big old yo-yo loach. And I mean, it is really just amazing at how many dang bloodworms that these guys can eat. And there for a while, I was actually feeding them the jumbo bloodworms, which is just a thicker version of the bloodworms, and I didn't think they were going to be able to eat them, but they were still able to eat a good amount of them as well. So pretty surprising at how much food that these small tiny fish can eat. Bloodworms are also the main food that I feed these guys. I'll mix in some smaller pellets and stuff like that, and mysis and brine too, but bloodworms have got to be the top food for these guys. They just absolutely love them, and it takes a lot more to feed these guys than it does the pea puffers, but I mean, honestly, this is probably the #1 food that these guys get, and they absolutely pig out on them. So I guess without any further ado, we can go and get this guy out of the bag and into the tank. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1. They think I'm feeding them. There he goes. Kind of, like I said, I think he's going to blend in really darn well with these other fish, and I really don't think they're going to pay much attention to him at all. There's the Le Lupe kind of flaring up at him, but he's going to do that to any new fish anyways. But thank you guys for watching as always. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to drop a like down below. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. Make sure you tap that little bell so that way you get notified from all the videos that I post. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.